Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 620 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. I'm just going to remove a little bit of that glare there. There we go. Today, recording day is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. And, we have a dusting of snow on the ground. It's almost like everything is just like off a couple of months. It's like Christmas was arriving. It's like, we're calling Mother Nature and it's like, hey, I know you're busy up there, but like, could you turn the snow on? Because it's like Christmas. And now it's like, hey, it's April. Could you like turn the snow off?
Oh, the weather outside is weather. I'd show you, but for some reason, my camera for that particular shot is just stopped functioning, which means I'm going to have to crawl under my desk and figure out why. I believe a cable must have been unplugged somewhere because it does run in behind Lola's little lair. So there's a good chance she may have chewed through the cable by accident, or disconnected it because it's on an extension cable, right? Because it's far away. Anyway, I can't show you the snow, but there's probably 5 centimeters of snow on the ground, and it's still snowing. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Us, it's just like icing sugar dusting.
Yeah, it's not like that here.
Yeah, I can still see ground between it, but it's like hello. Yesterday we were just about to plant some freesia bulbs, and it says plant after the last frost, and we're like looking. Nope, not today. Well, okay. Let's see. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
At the moment, it's okay. I don't know how long that's going to last for, though, because I must have woke up about 6 times last night. I felt like a nap, not actual sleep, So, the jury's out, to be honest with you. But we'll see. Just give me a sec. I'm gonna step away for just a second. I'll be right back. I apologize.
Absolutely.
Take care of something quickly.
I'll just do the tidbits.
Sure.
All right. So, kids and cubs, by the way, I am doing well. Thank you very much. Very well. Forgot to mention it on the show yesterday, but it was the big battle of the sexes curling match, the one I had always wanted to see. Apparently, it's been done sometime before, but I guess I missed it when it happened. But it was Team Homan versus Team Moet. Both of them reigning world champions, recently crowned reigning world champions. I think both of them two-time. No, I'm not sure about that one, but definitely reigning world champions. it was a skins game for charity, so it wasn't a regular type match. And then they had a couple of play things in it to make the match fun. I personally would have loved to have seen an actual just regular match. But and I think Team Homan might have been at a slight disadvantage, if only for the fact that their world championship was 2 weeks ago, whereas Team Moet just secured theirs on Sunday. So they're like fresh off and they're flying high. But it was a very, very, very entertaining match. And Team Moet raised funds for the Charlie Boys Foundation, and Team Homan raised funds for the Sandra Schmirler Foundation. And I believe, unfortunately for the Canadians, the boys won it in terms of the match. But money was raised for both charities, and a good time was had by all. And today, the final Grand Slam event starts. So, yeah. And our friend Devin, because it wasn't shown on TV, it was just on YouTube. But our friend Devin, along with Jennifer Jones and Brett Lang, who are, married in real life, but also I think both of them Olympic gold medal winners in their own right, and several-time national champions, were commenting along with him. So Devin had a curling commentating job. So he must have been very, very, very happy. All right. A couple of tidbits, kits and cubs. There was a sort of rebound yesterday in the markets for those who are following that. It seems that during the day, I'm not exactly quite sure what happened, but there was some representative from the government or that came to a mic and kind of suggested that things might alleviate in some way. And the market open that was like down almost like 1,500 on the Dow, then like just popped into positive territory. And then it was like, no. And then it dipped down again. But it ended the day not as bad. A lot of people were expecting a sort of black swan thing, and it ended up down just 349, like about 1%, a little under 1%. So that gave a little bit of a boost to the Asia Pacific markets, which had been hit very hard. And I think yesterday we reported that the Hang Seng had dropped something like 13% just that one day. So the Nikkei in Japan is up 6%. The Hang Seng's only recovered 1.5, but there's other reasons going on there for that. Mainly that IQ 47 down there basically threatened China with 50% extra tariffs if they don't remove their 34% retaliatory tariffs. And here, kits and
cubs. It's like the wall with Mexico. It just got 10 feet higher.
Yeah. And it's just like if you remember that little interview snippet we showed you with Flavio Volpe when he was talking to Heather Hiscox, and he was saying like the margin on the cars was 6 to 7%, so a 25% tariff like this. And if you say there's something else, you might as well make it 1,000.
Yeah.
Right. There's a number, and it's not very high. After which there's just no point in adding more because you've already reduced activity to zero. Right. It's like an extra 25% tariff when there's nothing going on doesn't stop anything more. Right. So there's a limited return on investment. Let's put it that way. Well, return on investment, not even just don't know there's an economic term and it's not hitting me there. But when you have to spend a lot to gain a little, right? And that becomes, at one point, there's no point. So again, 34% tariffs, there were already 24 marginal rate of 54. Now everyone says, I'll throw another 50. I mean, China's laughing at this point because it's just silly. So, but the Hang Seng and the Shenzhen, both in China based, are some of the markets in Asia that have risen the least today, and that may have something to do with that. The rebound has also been seen in Europe, with the FTSE in the UK up 2.5%. That's the FTSE 250, the FTSE 100 up 2%, the DAX in Germany up 16.5. So everything between sort of like 1.5 and and 2 for the most part here. So, and if we're looking at the pre-market here in North America, they're implying that Dow will open about 2% up today. So about 746 up to start the day, NASDAQ up to 240, and the S&P up 81. So they're predicting a positive day so far. And then someone can open his mouth. But so far, they're predicting a positive day. So we'll go with that. In the polling, very briefly for you kids and cubs, Canadian polling shows a little bit of a narrowing. With they received 2 new polls on the 6th. I haven't received anything yet this morning for the 7th. So Abacus shows them tied. Ipsos shows a lead of 12. Main Street 2, Liaison a lead of 5, and Nanos a lead of 6. So here we have still the Liberals at 202, Conservatives at 121. Not much change there. We're probably in a bit of a holding pattern, to be honest, until the debates, unless there's some news that comes up. Same thing for the CBC poll tracker. Not much movement, but a little bit more of a gain in seats, showing 204 for the Liberals here versus 117 for the Conservatives. And then on the that Canada 338, again, also a little bit of a narrowing, because yesterday we were showing a 7-point gap, and now it's to 6, with Manitoba flipping back blue again, 6 seats to 5. There's 1 seat that keeps going back and forth there somewhere.
I wanted to ask a quick question. Do you have a bit of a cold?
No, I might be a little dry, though.
Oh, yeah, okay, because you sound like...
Because I'm a little scratchy.
Yeah. I was a little worried there for a sec. Something I wanted to point out here, because I've been talking about this for a little while now, how old school conservatives have, as we have said, they didn't leave the party left them. I'm reading something here from a local doctor, and I guess he's in Perth. It says Dr. Alan Drummond endorses Michelle Foxton, Liberal candidate, in his riding. And his response is, yes, I did. Let me just bring this over here so it's easier to read. It says, yes, I did. A long-term conservative. For the first time in 45 years, I will be voting for a Liberal MP candidate. First of all, she deserves the opportunity to represent this riding in Ottawa. She has worked hard at community engagement. The Conservative just mails it in. Second of all, this is a unique moment in Canadian history, and I take the threat of the Mango Mussolini very seriously. In my view, Mr. Carney is best positioned to get us through the coming dark and troubled years facing our nation. Lastly, I have a visceral dislike for Mr. Poilièvre, his arrogance, his rage farming, and his Canada is broken shtick. So I'm going to lend the Liberals my vote this one time. My conscience is clear. This man is not alone in this. I've heard a lot of people have been saying the same thing. As I said, when Mark Carney declared his candidacy, I said, I think he's the right man at the right time. And I sincerely meant that then. I sincerely mean it now. We are facing a crisis, a global economic crisis, maybe a military one. We don't know. Trump has threatened to take Greenland by using the military. Are we next? I don't know. I think Mark Carney is the right man for this job at this time. And you can put your party politics or party partisanship aside for this one, as a lot of people I know are doing. And they're not even voting like this. They're not holding their nose. They're like, no, I'm voting for the Liberal candidate in my riding because Mark Carney is the right man for this job. And the amount of people I have heard who believe it or not, there are people I know that actually like Pierre Poilièvre and think his policies are good. And I'm like, what policies? He has none. Like, and we sometimes we get into heated discussions. I'm like, well, point them out. Point one policy out to me. Well, he's gonna. I go, he doesn't have any policies. He doesn't have a fucking platform. He's just he's a divider and a rage farmer, and he's got your rage up. He's not going to do anything, and he will bend over backwards for Trump, as evidenced by the fact that Danielle Smith said he's in sync with her, with Trump. So when more and more people start to say, let's do this for the country. This is the biggest most important election in our lifetime.
Hmm?
I don't know if we'll have a bigger, more important election. Maybe. I mean, I didn't see COVID coming either. So,
Mhm.
but this is a very
No-
big election, and people, like I said, who have never voted for anything, have never voted anything but conservative, are now changing their tune for this one.
Well, the thing is that um, this is not a normal election. These are not normal times. I mean, most of us who are alive in Canada today have gone through our lives blissfully,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
never wondering one day really about being invaded.
No, it's never been a concern before, and now it legitimately is.
Because normal rules don't apply. Normal conventional thinking does not apply, right? I mean, in normal times, a candidate like Carney, too boring, not enough pizzazz, and stuff like people,
Yes.
the hierarchy of needs, right?
Well, you're absolutely right, sir. It's we're in a very, very unique time frame.
Mhm.
This has never
And
happened before.
yeah, so the ballot question, no matter how much somebody wanted it to be a carbon tax election, is leadership.
Yes.
It's leadership and vision. Um, yes, ability to handle Trump and defend our sovereignty and all that kind of stuff. Yes, but overall, it's leadership and vision. Who's got the jelly, right? And come on, man. The liberals are out there, like they were really proud of that line. A resume is not a plan. Director's communication, Sarah Fisher ran with that one. It's
Mhm.
like, yes, that is true. A resume is not a plan, but resume is better than no resume.
Yes. Let's see.
Because
Paperboy.
and
11 years to get his degree.
he does have a plan, and he has been laying it out. It's almost like um, it's really weird because I remember Blanchet saying that in his campaign launch that he was talking about Jacques Parizeau back in the day. He said,
Mhm.
"I'm going to do an intellectual striptease," and he did this over the course of 2 years. Now the timelines are shorter, but ever since the first moment that Carney launched in Edmonton, right? We can't control what the president does, but we can control what we do.
Mhm.
Canada has given me everything. Plan beats no plan, and started talking about the plan,
Well,
which
and
Pierre lifted.
the boomers are definitely going to be voting not necessarily liberal, but voting with the idea of Mark Carney as prime minister in this one. I think a lot of the boomers, even some of the old school ones who would never, ever, ever vote liberal, are going, sorry, man, he's the leader. The other guy is not.
According to the polling, even young men
Yes.
that were like 40, 42, 16 or something like that, or 42, 21, Pierre Poilièvre Trudeau, it's like 41, 40 Carney. Right? It's like everybody sees it.
Mhm.
Everybody sees it. And it's like, and seniors was the only group that Trudeau hadn't lost yet.
Correct.
So he certainly hasn't lost. That's why Pierre's throwing everything at seniors, if you haven't noticed, in terms of his policy announcements. So,
And then when he gets in, he's going to change the retirement age to
and he
67.
hasn't had exactly, and he hasn't had much for youth yet, because I think he had them in the bag. Yes, and if Carney was already leading 41 to 40 with youth before certain of these announcements, these might help him. Because the battle for the youth vote is one of the undercurrents here in this election, and I do hope Kit PNC Bio is with us today, because I've been seeing in the chat that he's been asking. It's like, when are we going to talk about this? I was like, today is your day, sir. So, housing and trades. There have been dueling policies now from now that we have them out, right? They didn't come out at the same time. Sometimes everybody will make a announcement on something on one day, and then you compare on the one day. And sometimes things trickle out at different times in the campaign. And with Mark Carney, there's been a couple of days where he's had to cancel whatever his planned announcement for the day was going to be because he had to put on the prime minister hat.
Yes.
So, for example, his recent announcement about the CBC, which we'll get into in another episode, that was something that was planned for one earlier, I think, in the campaign. And I was like, oops, nope, got to fly to Ottawa. Canceling this event tonight. Will not be making that announcement. Let's put it on the schedule sometime else.
I got to go put the prime minister toque on for the day.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if this was the case for some of these, and that's why they came out differently. But the thing is, the day of the housing announcement, however, was the day that the Paul Chang thing was going on. Because the Paul Chang thing was going on, the housing announcement may not have gotten as much play. Now, interestingly enough, it did manage to break through despite that. If you were watching the newscasts and that type of stuff and watching what was circulating, it did break through. But it had competition. Self-inflicted competition. Yes. Right? And that's another reason why I'm suggesting malpractice, because somebody there should have known that the housing policy plank is such a big one.
It's massive.
It's like, just kill any other noise. Sorry, dude. Too bad for you. It happened on housing day. Got to cut you. Bye.
Poilièvre been trotting out for the last couple of years. Build the homes, build the homes, build the homes. Don't build them that way. Let the private sector do it. Oh, the private for-profit sector is going to build homes for people who don't have any money.
Yes, and let's remind you one more time that Pierre Poilièvre's plan involves selling government land, not leasing, selling government land, which sets the stage for Greenbelt going national.
Yeah, he wants to sell off.
And he has a lot of developers funding him. If you listen to there's article in The Beach.
Yeah, they're going like, we want this piece right here. Okay, what we'll do is we'll sell this off to you, and then you can do whatever you want with it. We'll get the homes built. You're not building anything, Pierre. The private sector is. Carney's plan, along with Sean Fraser, the housing minister's plan, is to build homes for Canadians. Government homes built for Canadians, like they did in World War II, at the end of World War II. And by the way, those houses are all over this city. Still standing.
Yeah, so they have this here on September 11th, 2023, breachmedia.ca, Poilièvre's anti-elite Tory stack, Poilièvre's anti-elite Tory stack top council with corporate lobbyists. Nearly half of Conservatives' new governing body are lobbyists for oil, pharma, pop-up came on, oil, pharma, real estate, and anti-union companies. I guess, and then Press Progress has an article that they put out a while ago about the number of developers that are hanging around since he won the leadership.
Well,
so if you,
I believe Nate Erskine-Smith is the housing minister now, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Press Progress here, September 5th, 2023. So around the same time. The breach, big real estate executives among top donors to Pierre Poilièvre's campaign. Conservative Party's donors list includes names of real estate investors and developers that are buying up affordable housing across Canada. When he turns around and he says, you can't trust the guy that made it harder for people to rent to fix the housing program, fix the housing problem, when he points to Carney because he was with Brookfield, and apparently Brookfield was Carney's company now, his company.
Yeah, he owned the whole thing.
Yes, he owns it. So implying that he pocketed the money personally, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If he's saying that, again, party donor list includes names of real estate investors and developers that are buying up affordable housing. Therefore, by Pierre's own statement, he can't fix the problem. He can't be trusted to fix the problem.
He doesn't want to.
But your rules See, this is why you have to be careful what you say when you make those types of grand, big statements, especially if you happen to be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
As we pointed out with the indigenous issue, the whole reason he can't let go of Aaron Gunn is because he'd have to step down the very next second.
Yeah.
I was like, well, because if Aaron Gunn goes, is okay, well, Aaron Gunn said this. Well, on this day, you said this. Because Pierre keeps on saying what page. So the journalist is going to now show up with the page. On this day, you said this. Why aren't you gone?
Yeah, he kind of set himself up for that one, didn't he? Show me the page. Show me the page. Well, I have several of them right here.
I'm just, when I say, one, you got to be nice on the way up, and two, be careful what you say. If you're trying to win the nanosecond all the time, you're not playing the long game. And when you keep on trying to win the nanosecond, you keep on planting little seeds, and those are the ones that are going to grow into stuff that you're going to trip on at some point.
Yeah.
Right? So, Pierre, as we know, because he made this pronouncement before the campaign, is going to offer a cut on GST on new homes of up to $1 million. That was his original plan. And then the election came and he raised it to $1.3 million. And it doesn't have to be your first home. So if it's a new home, I'm guessing if it's still a new home, not just any home, because there's no GST on homes that are not new. So on new homes, if it's not your first home, it applies to you as well. So he has the cost of offering the tax cut on homes of 1 million, and he's added the extra 300,000 and added allowing people for it to not be their first home to make it cost more. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Carney just came in with the opening bid, like you're playing poker. Okay, this is how much I need to be in. Okay, no GST, homes of 1 million. First time buyer. Boom. So matched the original policy.
Right.
That's about it for that. Pierre's policy will remove about $50,000 from the cost of a home. Carney's will remove about $40,000. It's a great policy if you're already saving for a home and you're really close and you're just $40,000 or $50,000 short.
Mm-hmm.
But for everyone else, that don't do much. It doesn't do much. It also increases competition.
So
because how many number of those people are now entering the market, bidding for the same amount of homes, and we don't have the supply.
Well, the GST, is it only homes that cost $1 million, or is it homes $1 million and less?
$1 million and less.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that, and that's
yes, $1 million less.
So $1 million's the ceiling, right? Okay.
Yes. So yes, but the point is you have to have enough money to be close to buying a home and being $40,000 or $50,000 short for you to be elevated into that. For people who were able to just afford it, yes, they get a little bit of a break. But for people aspiring to get one and can't already do it, that's who that does something for directly.
Right.
It's out of 42 million people.
So I'm just looking here at the Ottawa housing market overview. I'll put this on the screen for you. So it's got some numbers for you that I think you'd find interesting, sir. I'll put this up. So you can see here. Ooh, do I have to blow that up? I think I have to blow that up a little bit. There we go.
You might.
Yeah, there, we can read that now. Can you read that? I think so, huh? So all property types, average home price is $669,945. A single family home is $820,000. A townhouse is $580,000, and an apartment is $432,000.
Is that averages for Canada?
Yeah, Ottawa housing market, February 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So for all property types, 809 transactions, 31.1% increase 1 month change, 8.7% decrease over 12 months. But a single family home average price is $820,000.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, like I said, the number of people that policy is helping concretely out of a population of 40 is not very many.
No.
Not very many at all.
It really isn't.
So, and that was, and then the rest of Pierre's policy seemed to have been is to fund that using the housing accelerator money. So therefore, no housing accelerator, which is actually contributing to homes being started. Yes. And then him wanting to retain funding from municipalities if they don't embrace the freedom to build homes the way Pierre commands them to. So that's the housing policy from what we can see. On trades, Pierre had a new announcement just very recently, about 9 days ago on the campaign. And it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. And it's something that people can find useful.
Mhm.
Absolutely. For people in the trades who travel to practice their trade. So, for example, if you're in Newfoundland and you're traveling to Alberta, full
Yes.
cost of your travel, full cost of your transportation, full cost of your food, you can write that off. There's no cap anymore, that type of thing. That'll be very helpful.
And that happens a lot if you're a journeyman. If you're a journeyman in a union, I'll give you for instance, I met at least a dozen guys from other parts of the country when I was working on Parliament Hill. Electricians who had been there working 7 days a week by their choice, right? They can take weekends off if they wish, but they decide, well, I'm out of town. My wife and kids are back home. I'm just going to earn as much money as I can because I have to pay rent here. He's renting a room, not an apartment, trying to keep his costs as low as possible. And he spoke to a bunch of guys. A bunch of guys had rented a house together. They each had a room in it so they could keep their costs down. It's pretty common. So yeah, to be able to write that expense to travel across the country for work, when you're not relocating, you're just going there for work. And there's a few different vehicles I've seen around here with BC license plates. And I'm like, aren't they supposed to change it? Well, no, technically they're not living here. They didn't move here. They're just working here. So there's no need to change their plate. Now they might get pulled over if the police have noticed you've had that plate. We've seen you parked there. That does happen, but it's like, no, I'm just here working. I'm not living here. I'm working here. And there actually is a difference in it because you're going to go back home to your dwelling, wherever that be, whatever part of the country. In this case, somebody from BC. It's just here on contract. They're renting a room. And once that contract is up, in all likelihood, they go back home. So it happens a lot. And again, like I said, journeyman, it's because you're moving. And they don't say journey person, it's journeyman. And I've met women electricians, female electricians who said, no, I'm a journeyman electrician. I'm like, okay. It's kind of like women who are fishers. They say they're fishermen. Not fishers, I'm just going by the people I've met in the trades, right?
Yes. So now when Mr. Grizzly speaks of journeyman, for the purposes of this credit and the way that it is applied, you don't have to be going that far for that long. You could be just going for like a 3-day job somewhere, so long as it was 150 kilometers away from where you live. Right? Because there was something there too. That distance is being reduced to 120, and you're not obligated to have to stay overnight now in order to claim it. Right?
Well,
So
that is a good thing.
You can do 240 kilometers back and forth in one day. Still come home with your family. Right?
I've done it.
So,
but it's hard. It's difficult on your
it's
vehicle
hard.
and difficult on you.
Yeah. But again, these are concrete, real things that can help in a meaningful way people in this field. Right? There's nothing to poo-poo about this announcement. It's actually a good one.
Yeah, I know. We're as shocked as you are.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Before we get into the actual announcement. Oh, you're in the middle, right? Okay. Then we'll go to the announcement, and then we'll. No. We'll do it at the end. We'll do it at the end then, because that one, it's just a little aside thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, let's get into.
Okay. So this is the announcement itself.
We as conservatives want to unleash the strength of our mighty workers unleash our economy, and put our country first for a change by delivering tax fairness for everyone. Let me describe the problem we have right now. We have a lot of traveling trades workers. They might live in Timmins and go and work in Fort Mac. They might be from Winnipeg but go to the East Coast offshore. They might live in Quebec and head out to Kitimat, northwest British Columbia, to help with the LNG Canada project that the previous Conservative government approved. But they can only write off a total of $4,000 a year in costs for their travel. Some of them spend tens of thousands of dollars traveling across the country, but they can't claim it. We have a very simple principle in our income tax system. You get to write off the costs you incur to earn the income that's being taxed. Very simple. But they can't do that. On the other extreme, CEOs, globalist bankers, and other jet setters not only have the ability to write off the full cost of transport.
Globalist bankers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He just
double
couldn't
right
keep
there.
it.
That's a double right there. The globalist is, I don't know what the balloons were all about, but the globalist, that's an anti-Semitic dog whistle, number one. And then the banker, Mark Carney, number two. He can't help himself.
Well, also associating people with money.
Yeah. But what he's about to say is valid.
Okay. But you will notice here that everything, right? He was right to the announcement. Everything was good. And then he just had to throw in some shade.
He can't
help himself.
And other jet setters not only have the ability to write off the full cost of transportation required, they can write off luxurious private jets that they don't need to earn income. Yes, of course, business people have to travel to market their products, to establish relationships, to check on their supply chains, of course. But you can do that by commercial. A luxurious jet is a personal indulgence that should not be subsidized by the tax system, especially when our workers are being shortchanged. And so today, I'm announcing, in the spirit of putting Canada first and backing boots, not suits, our Conservative government will pass the Tax Fairness for Traveling Trades Workers Act, which will allow trades workers to write off the full cost of their food, transportation, and accommodation to go anywhere in Canada doing their jobs. There will no longer be a $4,000 cap. They will not have to stay overnight in order to be eligible for the write-off, and they will only have to travel 120 kilometers for the write-off to be eligible rather than the current 150 kilometers. This will allow a pipe fitter who's going to a job in another province to claim all the costs that are needed for him to go and do that job. And more importantly, that will bring down their taxable income and bring down their tax bill so that they bring home more of each dollar they earn. At the same time, we will get rid of the tax subsidy for luxurious corporate jets. As Prime Minister, I will amend the Income Tax Act so that corporations cannot write off luxury jets. Rather, each flight will only be eligible for a write-off of the equivalent of a commercial airfare. This, of course, will not apply to charter flights that are designed to get workers into remote areas. You see some of these planes back here. I would not be surprised if they are used. There are some mines and other locations where we need to get our trades workers. They get on these planes, and that will continue to be an eligible expense to write off so that our people can get where they need to get to build what we need built. Now, we can ensure that Conservatives will always put Canadian workers first for a change. And we know that this is important now, more important than ever, because for the first time in Canadian history, the people who build our homes cannot afford to live in them. More money is spent for a new home on bureaucrats in government who block the home than on the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who build it.
I got to interrupt there for a second. The first time in Canadian history? Come on. Come on. Housing has been outrageously expensive for the last 30 years. We'll continue for another minute.
Our workers have been under assault by the Liberal government C-69, which blocks pipelines, mines, and other key projects. The energy cap, which will stop Alberta and Saskatchewan and Newfoundland from growing their oil and gas sector. The anti-nuclear agenda of Stephen Guilbeault, still a Liberal minister, trying to block power stations and small modular nuclear reactors. It takes 17 years to get a mine approved in Canada. Meanwhile, a small corporate elite takes Canadian money out of our country into other places. $500 billion of net investment has flown to the United States, more than...
Okay, that's about for that.
Yeah. And then he just goes on afterwards to, like, you know, his campaign shtick.
There was some actual good in that announcement.
Yes. The actual announcement is good. Packaged that way. Why?
It was a good announcement. I agree with what he is
None
saying.
None of the rest was necessary.
None of it was necessary. No. He just can't help himself.
Yeah, but you're right. You were saying it was a good announcement.
It was. It legitimately was. What he's saying is something that should have happened a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and even the framing, it's like, who are you and what have you done with Pierre Poilièvre? Because you're sounding a bit like Jagmeet Singh there.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, you notice he had trouble getting it out when he was saying he was going to not allow the corporate jet. Like this, it was not natural for him.
Well, you can remember he has dinners in houses that are so large they have their own area code or their own postal code. Sorry.
Yes.
With individuals who run private health insurance companies in the United States of America.
Yep. Right. So listen. Right.
Credit where credit's due, though. It's a good announcement. It's a good plan. I like it.
Yes.
I agree with
and when he throws shade, he commits. He goes all the way.
But he sounded more like Jagmeet Singh on that one, because that is more of a the workers rise up and take, that was really NDP.
Class warfare.
Well, NDP, very, very left-leaning policy, which is a surprise because Pierre Poilièvre is not a progressive. That was a very progressive policy. I think he's trying to get back the people that basically a long time said, look, we know you voted against raising minimum wage. We know you voted against unions. We know what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to get these people back. And again, I agree with it. It's a good policy. I'm not going to lie. It's a good policy.
Conservatives have a strategy of actively trying to separate blue-collar union from white-collar unions.
Yes. Yeah.
The professional unions and the professional bodies are all dictatorships and whatnot like this, but the blue-collar unions, we're on the side of the workers.
The folks who take a shower at the end of the day.
Would you like the right to work?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, right to work people, you know what they do? They kill your union.
Indeed. You shouldn't have to pay union fees in order to be able to work. Those union dues are what are making the difference between you being able to afford your mortgage payment and heat.
That is not true. Those union dues you pay will make sure that they get you paid better wages. I know this because a fellow I worked with for about a dozen years took a union position and his wage increased by 60%. The minute he took a union position. He said a 60% wage increase. He says, for the first time in my life, when I go grocery shopping, I just put the stuff in the cart I need. I'm not doing the math in my head as I approach the checkout to make sure I have enough money to pay for it. I don't even think about it anymore. That, my friends, is what we call comfort.
Mm-hmm.
That is comfort. Being able to do that is comfortable.
Indeed. All right. There's 3 moments from that press conference that have absolutely nothing to do with the announcement. So the first one is in the Q&A. And the reason I'm putting it up here is because it's more of a local question, since we have viewers from Manitoba. Maybe they did not hear this question and answer. So this is as a community service.
As leader in Mark Carney. The last 10 years were about the Liberals. The next 10 years need to be about you. And that's why
You.
we need to put Canada first for a change. We need someone who can be trusted to stand by his word.
That was the cue.
2256?
That was the cue. Yes. Yep.
Oh, sorry. Then I misnoted that. My apologies. That's my bad. I must have fat fingered that one. So sorry. Mr. Grizzly, if you would happily chat a little bit, I will actually find the correct cue.
Okay. I can do that. I desperately need another cup of coffee though, because this I'm down to the last centimeter in the cup, and it's gotten to be cold. So I'm going to have to go and top up my mug and get a nice steaming hot cup of coffee. Because without it, I'm really not my best. Especially when I woke up about 6 times last night. It's not so much that I slept last night, and more that I had a very light nap. I'm going to have to check my sleep monitor because I'm pretty sure it's going to tell me, yeah, dude, you didn't sleep at all. You should go and take a nap now. I'm like, well, I can't now. I'm kind of busy doing a thing here, doing what we'd like to think is a public service to try and inform Canadians and keep them up to date with what is going on with our current election. So, yeah, this is me trying to help you out. Help me help you. Help me help you. That was my Jerry Maguire, Cuba Gooding, that scene. If you remember that. Jerry Maguire.
All right. Yes, it was a typo. It was supposed to be 2556, not 2256.
Okay, there.
My bad. Mea culpa.
Okay, here we go. Well, I'll bring up that cue then, and we'll play this.
Hi there, Eddie Huband, City News Winnipeg. I just have a question about 2 key infrastructure projects. The Port of Churchill, which the federal government recently contributed or promised $175 million in funding for maintenance and things of that nature. And then the North End Sewage Treatment Plant, another project that the federal government has contributed over $150 million in funding. And even with that, it's still drastically underfunded. My question is, if elected, would your government be continuing to support these projects financially and picking up the tab of what the current government has promised, so to speak?
We'll honor those funding commitments, but more importantly, we'll get it done. Right now, infrastructure projects are ensnared in endless delay and bureaucracy. So it takes years to get the permitting. We're going to have a simple rule.
There is a reason for that. It's called guardrails, guidelines, safety, requirements.
And how much do you want to bet he took the project that took the longest to approve and get and saying that's the standard?
No, there's environmental studies that have to be done, geology studies that have to be done, effect on the neighborhood that it has. There's so much that goes into these projects.
Meaningful consultation with First Nations.
I'll give you
Indigenous peoples.
A one-off, for instance. Folks who live in the city of Ottawa might be familiar with a place that used to be called the James Street Feed Company on Bank and James, and it became the James Street Pub. The land was bought up by a pub owner, construction company in this city. I'm not going to mention who. And what they did was they waited till the lease was up for renewal, and they quadrupled the cost, knowing full well that the company that was, the business that was there couldn't cover it. So they moved out, James Street moved in. It was the reason that was done was they owned the land and they had wanted to develop it into what it now is, a condo building. So I think it's 6 floors, 5 or 6 floors. It's still under construction. That started about 15 years ago. They had the plans on the drawing board. That's how long it takes to build a single condo building. They had bought the land. They owned it. They had to run a pub until such time as they could get all the permits in place, because all the things have to go through. And do you hear them complaining? No, they know how it works. They're a construction company. They know the checks and guardrails are there for reasons that you might not understand. But he's going to try and make an example here.
Rule, one and done. One environmental review, one simple application.
Doesn't work that way.
And in the case of large-scale industrial projects, no more than 1 year to get a permit. We'll also I've also announced that we will expand and we will build up the port of Churchill. I think we need to come up with a plan to export our oil out of the port of Churchill. Of course, that could be done either by rail or by pipeline. That will not happen unless you repeal this Liberal law C-69. Churchill will never be a big functioning port if the Liberals get a fourth term in power, because their radical environmental agenda will prevent anything from getting built. After the lost Liberal decade, it takes 17 years for a mine to get approved. It is impossible to get a pipeline built. They're capping our oil and gas.
Impossible to get a pipeline built. Really? Correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but didn't the lost Liberal decade build a pipeline?
Yep. And there's an LNG terminal that's about to open.
Again, Liberals did that.
Yep.
Lost Liberal decade, can't get a pipeline built, but they built one. The first one.
And you know what lost Liberal decade is, right? So he's relying that a lot of us weren't alive for the Great Depression.
Yes.
But that's what they were saying back there. So he's basically saying that the last 10 years was the Great Depression under the Liberals.
Nice try.
Sector and taxing our industry with a big industrial tax that'll drive jobs out. After we can't have a fourth Liberal term of costs and crime up and our economy down under the American thumb. We need a new Conservative government to put Canada first for a change by approving pipelines, getting things built, unleashing production, bringing home our jobs so that we're strong enough to stand up to the Americans from a position of strength. Thank you very much.
All right. That was a lot of words to say yes.
Wow.
He supports the plan for the Port of Churchill project and the northern sewage treatment plants. He didn't actually specifically speak of the northern sewage treatment plants, but he said yes. So I'm assuming he said yes to both, and I will be generous today.
One would assume, yes.
But he said he will support that in the first 5 seconds, and then he went on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Just say yes. Just say yes. Yes, I will get it done. Yes.
Ooh. Ouch.
Would have been way more effective an answer.
Western Select crude is currently at $48.
Wow.
That is massive layoffs coming. $48? They can't, that's not profitable.
Damn.
I think 70 is the profit. You know, anything below 70, correct me if I'm wrong. $48? That is not good.
Oh, Mr. Grizzly, go to oilprice.com.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chart there. Unfortunately, there seems to be a pop-up that wants to put itself right on top of it. That's the WTI crude bar. No, I don't think it's going to allow you to show it. There's a pop-up that insists on being right on top of it so that nobody can see it, which is really dumb.
You mean this one? All prices, OPEC blends, Canadian blends,
Okay.
U.S. blends. Oh, I see the pop-up
Wow.
there. Yeah.
There we go. There's the graph.
Look at
You
that
see that drop off?
72.
Holy crap.
It's at 60. That's U.S. Wow.
Damn.
Dropped by $10, $11.
So that's WTI though, right?
Yes, yes.
So, but it's similar. Wow. Gee.
Yeah, and here we go. Western Canadian Select. This is not good. It was April 2nd. It was $59. As of this moment, it's $48.
And that's US, right?
Yes. Let me just put the whole graph up here. I believe all pricing is in US dollars. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look what it. Wow.
Yeah. So Danielle Smith, I'm not sure which day it is that she said she posted that meme saying Alberta wins. But premature enunciation?
You think?
Because you didn't get tariffs of 25% on oil, and you didn't get any export tariffs, but now the value of it just went,
If memory
way to
serves,
go, Danielle.
if memory serves, I do think it is $70 is the ideal range for it to be in to be profitable. But correct me if I'm wrong. I remember reading something about that.
The last time I read that was back in the Harper days, so I have an idea the number has changed a little bit. Yeah. Big win. U.S. tariff announcement. Big win for Alberta and Canada. Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta. I'm watching. Yeah. I'm looking at the picture right now.
Well, and people will say, hey, that's going to drop the price of gas. No, it isn't. Price of gas isn't going down. It's not going anywhere. They can't afford to do it now. It'll cut into their margin.
Incredible.
That is a precipitous drop, though. Yep. Oil is only in U.S. dollars. Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks, Lightning.
She's in trouble. Well, that explains Danielle Smith's little temper tantrum yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we have time, we'll go into that later. But Mark Carney was rolling pretty hard at a campaign stop and said something about Doug Ford and Danielle Smith. And Danielle Smith decided to choose to be offended. Getting a little snit. Of course, she needs a distraction from the price of oil falling off a cliff. Because that might highlight to people that she's actually incompetent. Wake up, Alberta. All right. So
according to this,
Pierre.
Sorry, I don't have the price what it needs to be, but it says their profit margin needs to be between 7 and 10%. It doesn't say. I'm trying to find what the minimum barrel pricing needs to be. Minimum price per barrel to determine what is possible and what isn't. But I thought it was around $70. I could be wrong about that.
$72 a barrel.
There you go.
Now this is AI, margin. However, but I think it's taken from CBC article here where they pick it. For Alberta to break even and potentially profit from oil production, the price of oil needs to be above $72 per barrel. I'm going to guess that this is $72 Canadian, given that it comes from CBC.
No, 72 would have to be U.S. It's all U.S. pricing.
U.S. pricing? Okay.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. It says Alberta budget counts on $68 U.S.
All figures in U.S. dollars here. I have it in the article. I went through the article, so yes. Okay. From January, this is like January 2024, however, oil prices have fallen by almost 40% since reaching a high of more than $120 US per barrel in 2022. Oil was trading at more than $90 in September, but this week price have fluctuated into the low 70s. So this is a long decline for Alberta. When did Danielle Smith become premier?
Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think so, right? So this had started before, 2 years before she became premier. She became the leadership. Smith won the 2022 United Conservative Party leadership election to replace Alberta Premier Jason Kenney. And her cabinet was sworn in on the 22 of October of that year, 2022. So yeah, around the time this started, when she basically came in around the time where it was about $120 a barrel US, so about there, and it has now dropped to whatever it is under her competent and wonderful leadership.
Well, Western Canadian
at the same time,
$48 a barrel.
Yes, at the same time that they have divested from renewables.
Yes, yeah.
Way
Smart
to go, Danielle.
Move.
Way to go, Danielle. Now, I'm not saying that she's responsible for the drop in the price of oil. She's not. Not in any way, shape, or form. Not any more than Trudeau was responsible for it going up. But she didn't really manage the province's finances well as the price of oil was dropping now.
Right. Well, Mr. Jim here points out that Fellows, which is not a think tank, but like a group that consultancy business, I believe. Fellows estimated that nearly all oil sands producers will continue to produce and potentially marginally expand as long as the prevailing price of Western Canadian Select remains above $40 Canadian a barrel. Canadian? Really?
Well, according to this in 2024, University of Calgary economics professor Trevor Toom said, quote, if we go into this coming fiscal year starting April 1st with $72 a barrel, that might put the government into a situation where they either have to revise their spending plans or face a modest deficit. So it may not be the amount required for oil itself to be profitable, but the amount that the barrel has to be at for the government of Alberta to present a balanced budget.
Right, because they rely upon that money. Right.
Yes.
So the companies that are there could still keep making it, but Alberta's budget will just lose that.
See, at that time there, he said every $1 change in North American oil prices brings a $630 million impact. What's the price of it now?
48.
48. 52. That's $24 now. 24 times 630 million.
Yeah. Well, it's $48.35 a barrel as of 7:05 a.m. today.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
On Friday, it closed at $49.64, and it is, as of yesterday, yesterday's pricing is $48.35.
24 times 630 million is 15,120 million.
Of loss?
Uh-huh. The impact.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's going to really...
impact Alberta's bottom line.
So this is going to crush... Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Wow.
Daniel Smith is in trouble. If that drop holds, Daniel Smith is in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, boy. It's amazing how fast life can come at you, eh?
Life comes at you pretty fast.
Holy crap, I'm a cracker.
Do you want to jump back to Pierre's final Q&A? And I can
Yes.
grab a cup of coffee?
Yes.
Back to this oil thing later. I just thought it was one of those breaking news things. Thanks for pointing that out to us. It was it PNC Bio pointed that out? Thanks again, because that is huge news. The financial impact is incredible. We'll watch this clip. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee.
Steve Lambert from the Canadian Press. Mr. Poilièvre, good morning. I've got a question regarding the landfill search for the victims of a serial killer recently in the Winnipeg area. You said roughly a year ago that you would look to criminal justice reforms to protect First Nations, Indigenous people, offer them more protection.
Right.
What exactly would that mean? And secondly, what would a Conservative government do to help families in similar situations get the search, because the families involved fought for more than 2 years to get a search underway?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to these families. I can't even imagine the torment that these years have brought them. And I know that the search is necessary, and even though it is very painful for those involved. Unfortunately, First Nations people are disproportionately the victims of violent crime. The lost Liberal decade of catch and release laws has turned loose the same repeat offenders over and over and over again. Yeah, I can only imagine the terror that some communities live in, where an offender keeps coming back to physically attack and even kill members of the community. But constant bail, parole, house arrest, not second or third chances, but 75th chances for the same offender. This crime and chaos is the direct result of Liberal C-75, catch and release, Liberal C-5, house arrest, and there's also C-83, which allows the most brutal offenders, including Paul Bernardo, out of maximum security penitentiaries. Giving the Liberals a fourth term in power will only unleash even more crime, victimization, and drug overdoses for all Canadians. That's why it's time to put Canada and law-abiding Canadians first for a change, with a new Conservative government that will repeal the soft-on-crime laws, lock up repeat offenders for good, secure our borders, and fight against drug addiction. We will, as I said the other day, bring in life sentences for mass fentanyl dealers, gun smugglers, and human traffickers. Human trafficking targets disproportionately First Nations people as well. And that will allow us to protect all the people of our country and put the safety of Canadians.
Exasperated sigh. He didn't even answer the question.
Indigenous people just do not exist.
According to him, yeah.
They just do not. And the only reason I presented this one today is just because yesterday we had the episode on, his Indigenous issue. And it's sort of like, oh, what's timing? Now, this was 9 days ago. This was before the issue of Aaron Gunn came up in the mainstream press. It was all over the web, of course, because everybody knew who he was. But actually came up. So, he's basically taking all his proposed policies and trying to make it fit and say it'll help them too, essentially. The comment about people being released and going back to
75 times.
Terrorize. Well, 75 times, that's the first thing. But there's two realities, right? When you're Indigenous, there's an urban reality, living off reserve, and then there's living on reserve. For the portion of people who live on reserve where the crime is happening on reserve, the way he phrased that kind of gave the impression that we're not keeping these Indigenous people in jail long enough.
From Linda. I know that Indigenous people and other minority populations will feel so much safer.
He had a little bit of that tinge there, because while in urban areas lots of crimes are committed against Indigenous people by non-Indigenous people on reserve, that's not necessarily the case. So yeah and not too many not too much talking about any concept of restorative justice or
I guess restorative justice or even what is the Canadian prisons were Kingston Penitentiary was the first reformatory prison in North America, where it was not just punishment for the crime. It was, yes, you're going to do your time and fulfill your debt to society, but we're going to reform you. That was the idea behind it originally. I mean, it didn't end that way, but it started out as a reformatory prison. I actually, I shouldn't say it started out as a reform. It became a reformatory prison, and it was the first in North America. But he doesn't want to reform anybody. He just wants to punish those he sees as beneath him.
Now,
here's the question, though. He never wants to get to the root of it. Like, why did this person start doing the crimes? What is the number one cause of crimes?
Poverty.
Simple. You're driven to a desperate situation because you feel the need to, eat, maybe have a warm place to sleep at night. Poverty is the reason people do criminal activities, because they want to get out of the poverty. It's that simple. The root of all evil is money. No question. But when you have no money, you might do evil to get some because you're desperate.
The human instinct is to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, if you deprive people of money, they have to commit some type of crime to get it. You're penalizing someone for being human.
Well, I have a woman I used to know a long time ago. We haven't seen each other in about 20 plus years, but she worked at Central Booking. So she wasn't a police officer per se. She was a special constable, they call them. And after a while, her sister said to her, you need to move on from that job because it's making you a bitter person. Because all you see, how do I put this in a term that we can relate to? You see members of society that have been ostracized and marginalized to the point where they are desperate. And you start to hate humanity. because you never see the best of people. You only see the worst of people at their worst times. And she had told me several times, she said, you know how many people will go out and do a petty crime just so they can have a warm place to sleep and a couple of meals?
Mm-hmm. That's probably what he's referring to.
We go to central booking, they have a bed, we'll give them a blanket, and we have to feed them.
And that's probably what he's referring to when he says 75 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not violent crimes, but not petty crimes.
Petty crimes. It's because they just want a place to sleep and tired of sleeping outdoors, tired of begging for change to get a meal. And why are they begging for change? Have you seen what ODSP pays?
As we keep on saying, it costs less in the long run to do the right thing the first time.
Have you seen what Ontario Works, the welfare system, pays? $735. It's been that way for about 12 or 15 years, I think it's been.
Yes.
It's not increased.
Yes, and now compare it to what we pay in policing, jail, court, extra hospital. Just give them enough to survive. And then maybe a little more for some dignity. Why not? Let's get wild and crazy. Dignity for everyone. What a concept. All right. So, that's Pierre. Then Mark Carney, a while ago, had an announcement on housing, like we mentioned, got a little bit overshadowed by the Paul Chang thing. But it was a damn good announcement overall. Mr. Grizzly, if you would like to start, let's do 510. I guess he sets the table. How they set the table for these types of things matters.
We're here today because Vaughan, as Francesco reminds me, Vaughan is at the epicenter of the building trades in Ontario. And it's home to extraordinarily skilled women and men who are literally building this country. And extraordinary is exactly what we need right now because, as Gregor and Jennifer just alluded to, these are not ordinary times. We are facing the biggest crisis of our lifetimes. And we are going to build our way out of it. President Trump is trying to fundamentally restructure the U.S. economy, and that means our economy will have to change dramatically. As I made clear to the President in our call last week, I will reject all attempts to weaken Canada, to wear us down, to break us so that America can own us. That will never happen, ever. Matt.
Right? Here's the thing with Carney, right? The quiet, calm confidence coupled with the message that, yeah, it's going to be tough, but ultimately we can get through it, I guess, and we'll be all right, even thrive. And we can do it.
Yes.
It's so much better than, oh, we're weak. We had a last decade. We have to get even closer to the United States and then take all the money from expanded trade and use that to spend in the defense of our country. I was like, God, it just doesn't make sense. As opposed to, and I saw a clip the other day of him going, I was like, I've seen this movie. I know how it ends. It's like, right? The difference in tone and approach and whatnot is just palpably, one is just more magnetic than the other. It just has to be.
Oh, yes.
Right. Okay, let's go to 708, sir.
I'm already queued up and ready to go.
All right.
I'm on top. Don't worry.
I know
I'm
that.
the producer. I got the production thing down.
I know that.
I just need to know what the cues are in advance and I can map them.
sur les autres. Above all, what we need to do is fundamentally reimagine our economy. We need to build a new Canadian economy, a more resilient economy that can succeed in what will be a drastically different world. We need to build that economy so that it works for everyone. Now, as a start to see how to build, we should draw inspiration from what's worked in the past. Let's go back to a time when we built things in this country. And if you visit almost any community in Ontario, you will see countless streets of houses that are about 80 years old. And that's because during and just after the Second World War, Canada was facing a massive housing crisis, similar to the one we're now in. In response, the government of the day built tens of thousands of affordable starter homes for returning veterans and their families. Many of those homes were built by skilled tradeswomen, like our friends from the Sisterhood here today. You see, the Liberal government of William Lyon Mackenzie King had a plan. They created new agencies to oversee the construction of homes. They found ways to cut costs and to cut the time to build. They built, in the process, entirely new industries, and it worked. Canada built its way out of that crisis into post-war economic strength. Decades of rapid growth, decades of prosperity. Today's reality is that even when Canadians, particularly young Canadians, are doing everything right, when they're getting a good education, they're studying hard, they've secured a well-paying job, they're saving up, they often have barely enough to pay the rent, let alone to afford a home of their own. On average, across this country, it takes over 4 years to save for a down payment. For first-time buyers, it's 6 years. In markets like Toronto, even longer.
Okay, I gotta interrupt here for a second. 4 years to save for your first time? 6 years in Toronto? I don't know where he's getting those numbers, and I say this because the announcement that you could add another 5,000 to your TFSA came as, if I had 5,000 to save to begin with.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he's getting these numbers because they sound a little off to me, because I know most people who are buying their first home have only been able to do it with money their parents gave them.
Yep.
I don't know anybody who saved up the down payment on their own. No, that's not true. I knew one couple who did. And to do it for 2 years, he worked 70 hours a week. She worked 70 hours a week. He only ate like bologna sandwiches. I mean, their health took a shit kicking. They cut everything out. No coffee, no tea, no alcohol, no sugar. Like literally it was bare minimum. And he said, I wouldn't do it again. It cost me my health and I'll never fully recover from it. But yes, we saved the money and we bought our first home. But I would not recommend doing what we did. So I don't know where he's getting these numbers. They sound suspect to me, but that's just my personal opinion and my lived experience. We'll continue.
Simply aren't enough homes, so housing is just too expensive. Now, it doesn't have to be this way. We have solved a housing crisis before in our past. We can solve the housing crisis now. It's time to build. And my government has a plan to do just that. We have the experience, much of it standing behind me, and we have the resolve to get this done. Today, I'm announcing that my new Liberal government is flipping the script on housing with a new approach to build faster, build smarter, and to build more affordably. Unlike Pierre Poilièvre, who thinks slash and burn is the answer to every problem, we're going to address failures in the housing market head on. And we're going to unleash the power of public-private cooperation at a scale not seen in generations. Our goal is to double the pace of housing construction to almost 500,000 new homes every single year. Homes you can afford to buy. Homes that are more sustainable and cost less to live in. Homes made right here with Canadian ingenuity, Canadian labor, Canadian products, including mass timber. The first part of our plan is to create an entirely new entity, Build Canada Homes, a lean, mission-driven organization that will do several things. First, it will act as a developer on new affordable housing projects. It will catalyze a new housing industry. It will provide financing for affordable home builders. Notre plan commence par la...
Okay. So, pretty interesting setup again. And notice the specific mention to using Canadian resources, particularly the timber industry, considering that there are tariffs on softwood lumber about to come.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when we had the talk about Justin Trudeau announcing on the way out high-speed train?
Yes.
Right? And will it get built? Will it not get built? And I said the odds that it would get built actually are greater considering this trade war, because if we're not shipping that steel,
Yes.
and if we're losing the jobs, we've got to put people to work in other ways.
Well,
he's doing the same thing with housing now.
And I discovered something recently about the high-speed rail plan that nobody seems to be well aware of. The first stage has actually been completed. It's on to the second stage. So now,
I did not know that.
Yeah, I read that recently. I was like, oh, shit, I had no idea. When they made the announcement, the first stage was almost completed. The first stage, there's a company that's doing the work. They're already on the ground. They're already doing all the soil sampling and the route planning, and all of that is well underway. This could very much become a reality. And especially, like you just said, with these, we got to pay ourselves now. If we're not shipping stuff elsewhere, well, let's just build it here and pay ourselves. When the announcement came, I said, I like the idea of it. I hope it happens. I don't think it ever will. Things have changed since that announcement. Drastically changed. And it looks to me like this might very well happen. Now, it'll be 2030 before they put a shovel in the ground, and probably 2040 before anything rolls. But there'll be a lot of jobs created if they put the shovel in the ground. A lot of jobs.
There'll be a lot of jobs created before they put the shovel in the ground, too.
Well, yes.
Different types of jobs, but all those studies and all that kind of stuff. But it's, like I said, got to build your own.
Yes.
Right? So this guy's planning in layers here. All right. Let's continue.
1 second, sir. I'll just bring up the feed here so we can watch, listen, and learn.
We need to take our construction sector to the next level. There are 80,000 vacancies and another 300,000 workers set to retire over the course of the next decade. Labor productivity in this sector has been stagnant for years. And at the same time, construction costs are up 51% in recent years. The way we build homes needs to change. Prefabricated and modular housing will play a big role in the future. They can drive down the time to completion by up to 50%. They're cheaper to build by up to 20%. And they're a more sustainable way to build, producing 22% fewer emissions than traditional construction methods. And the good news is we're already home to many new prefabricated housing factories. We want Canada to be the world leader in this new innovative industry. We should be that leader. That's why we're providing $25 billion in financing to scale up that industry. And in the process, we will create good jobs up and down the supply chain. Good jobs in innovative housing research, such as the UBC Smart Structures facility that I visited this past February. Good jobs in prefabricated and modular housing, like those in Sherbrooke, Quebec, in my own riding of Nepean or in Calgary at ATCO. Good jobs in our world-class forestry industry by using Canadian lumber and mass timber, such as that which is being pioneered in Elmsdale, Nova Scotia, where I visited last week. And of course, at the heart, at the core, good jobs, great jobs in the skilled trades for hard-working people like the folks behind me who will be busy building these homes for...
All right. Again, the way he does the education piece, again, puts it out in layers. He brings us along with him.
And he's not,
why.
He's simplifying it too. He's not speaking above everybody's heads. He's bringing it down to a level that I'd say the vast majority of people can understand.
But
what is it
talking down?
When you exactly when the federal government has to release has a press release.
Yes.
It has to be written at the reading comprehension level of a fifth grader.
Yes.
That is mandated. It has to be. And sometimes I've read stuff and I'm like, "Ooh, that's a lot of people are not going to understand this." And they're like, "We tried to break it down as simply as we could." Sometimes it's just really, really complicated. But he has a way. Yeah, that is the goal. But he has a way of simplifying it and explaining it. So he's teaching you and then telling you what's going to be done and how it's going to be done. Unlike some of his colleagues on the other side of the aisle,
who go round and round and connect one thing to one thing over there to one thing over there and don't tell you how it exactly connects and just pop a number out. And
yeah.
I mean, just remember the tax cut announcement, right?
Yes.
It's a 15% tax cut, and all the work we had to do to figure out that it was 1.125%. Like we had to break out the calculator to figure out what it is, as opposed to I'm going to give a 1% tax cut.
Why didn't you just say that? Tell the truth. Here's the headline I wanted to share with you, and then we'll get right back to it. But Toronto, Quebec City high-speed rail, first major milestone reached for Alto. They signed agreement for development of the network on March 21st of this year. So yeah, just thought I'd share that because it's, like I said, I remember reading about it, so I thought I'll find it so we can share it with everybody. But yeah,
cool stuff.
So it's underway.
I'm wondering if they did the high frequency and high speed studies parallel one to the other, and that they were going to go for high frequency, and then they talked about it some more. And it's like, let's just why buy half a loaf? Just do it.
Well, and the other thing too, the high frequency rail was like they were going to have to build new rail for that so they could get off of the freight rail. Because right now Via shares lines with freight rail. So it's like, well, if we're going to build a new line, why don't we build it so it can go really fast? Now, unfortunately, people along Lake Ontario get skipped out because it goes through Peterborough and then continues on a northerly route per se. It's not along Lake Ontario anymore, which I guess it's just because you have to build it where there are no people.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, right? Because it's a high-speed link. You're going 300 kilometers an hour. You don't want that near communities. I mean, you don't want at-grade crossings. You know what I mean? So I think the route they chose was probably the most cost-effective and least disturbing for communities and residents along that route. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to do a deep dive into it, but that would make the most sense to me.
Oh, darn. We don't benefit. I just realized.
No, you don't.
In Kingston.
No, you don't
Darn.
At all.
I figured it might come back since we're at the top tip of Lake Ontario, but
no, it doesn't. It just keeps going north.
Yeah.
Until it hits
I can
Ottawa.
understand that. Yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure. We'll just the 401, right?
Yeah. And there's communities all along the 401. So it's like, you got to, you can't stop in every one of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So will they have go buses that will take you to, say, Peterborough?
Probably.
But
I don't know if there would. I don't know if there would be. Yeah, I don't know if there would be much saving though. Saving time.
Mm-hmm.
Peterborough then to go to Ottawa rather than just go to Ottawa.
Yeah. Realistically, to get to Peterborough and then to take the train, you're probably just easier to take a Flixbus or a Megabus from Kingston to Ottawa because it's only like, what is it, 2 hours? Is it 2 hours?
2 hours from my place here in Kingston to the Ottawa Beaver Lodge. It's literally 2 hours door to door.
There you go. So, yeah, it wouldn't make sense for you to go to Peterborough. No. But if you're in Peterborough and you need to get to Montreal quickly.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yep.
If you're in Toronto and you need to get to Montreal
Or even
quickly,
Quebec City, yeah.
or yeah,
But the further you go, the more advantageous it is.
yes, absolutely. So we do realize that a lot of people will be bypassed, but
hey, Peterborough and Trois-Rivières, however, I
mhm,
guess had been on the line before and then taken off, and now we're getting
right
back online.
now they're
I
back
guess,
on.
and the other line does remain, I'm sure.
Yes,
That's going to that's going to help those communities a lot in terms of their economic development. So, it's a system of trade-offs, right? You build something someplace, it doesn't go, but it's not like those communities couldn't use the boost as well.
well, this is the thing, right? This is
Right.
the thing.
There's a little bit less going on in Peterborough and Trois-Rivières than there is in Kingston, because we have the benefit of being so close to Toronto, between Toronto and Ottawa, right?
Right. Yeah, you're 2 hours either way, right?
Yes, about 3 hours to Toronto, maybe.
Yeah, two
Two.
and a half, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just in terms of like activity too, the people coming in and going out, and again, Peterborough and Belleville and all that. Like, I noticed that living here, where Ottawa is a city where people pour out on long weekends to go to Montreal and Toronto and all that stuff, Kingston people pour in
Yes.
from Peterborough and Belleville and whatnot. So it's
true.
and people want to get away for a little
Mhm.
bit, but don't want to go too far from Toronto and Ottawa.
Well,
So it's
I've taken many
it's interesting.
I've taken many a day trip or a weekend trip to Kingston because it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's a good place. All right. So let's keep going with Mr. Carney here,
Happy to, sir.
because he's going to unveil a little more.
Just bear with me here while I bring the feed back up. It's already go. I just need to bring it up. There we go.
Build Canada Homes will build deeply affordable and middle-class housing, single-family homes, high-rise apartments, and everything in between. And on top of creating that entity, that new structure, Build Canada Homes, the second part of our plan is to drive growth by making the housing market itself work better. Taxes and regulations have been choking the industry and making it difficult, in some cases impossible, to build. Canadians are paying the price. That's why, for the next 5 years, my government will cut development charges, taxes on home building in half for all multi-unit housing. That's $40,000 off the cost of a 2-bedroom apartment just south of here in Toronto. We'll fund new housing infrastructure to cover the lost revenue, while expecting.
Wow.
So that is a move to push Doug Ford, and particularly on the fourplexes.
Yeah.
Because cutting development charges in half, but only for multi-unit residences.
Well, and he has a pretty...
4 stories, not 4plexes.
Right. As I understand it, though, he has a pretty good working relationship with Doug Ford.
He does, as well. But this, okay, you want a little extra incentive? We'll get you over the hump on the 4 stories.
Mm-hmm. Apologies, sir. I'm just looking at the time. I got to jump.
Okay.
I wasn't paying attention. I just looked at my watch. I'm like, oh, shit. There is a clock on my screen, but I never look at it, right? Oh, damn it. I got to go. I got to take Lola out, and then I got to meet somebody.
No
I
worries.
have a standing thing every day where I meet somebody for a coffee, and we go over. It's kind of a therapeutic for the both of us. And anyway, I don't want to dive into my personal life too much, but working out some stuff and working on some things. So I do have to go. So thanks for coming by, everybody. Really do appreciate each and every one of you. And my words of wisdom today are: take care of yourself today, because when you step outside in the nation's capital anyway, and you see all that snow, it's probably going to feel like a punch to the gut. So do what you need to do to get through the day. You'll be okay. And I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, sir. I'm going to continue with you for a little bit. We won't have clips, but hey, that's okay, because we still have the information. And if there's an opportunity to show you some future clips, in the future that you may need, we will. But you got the main gist of it for the housing here. He continues from that point on French to say that they will maintain the accelerated capital cost deduction or amortization for builders. So that's important as well. And this is really a little bit of, as you can tell by the framing, look into the past a little bit to see what works to help inspire us for the future. He mentions that in the 70s, these types of measures allowed for the building of tens of thousands of new homes. The previous government had brought back this measure, the accelerated capital cost deduction, and he says that his government will allow more people to have access to it, and that we'll also have will also be resorting to prefabricated construction in order to cut red tape. So because if you can standardize the construction, the elements and everything for a prefab home, then all the places where those homes can be built can be pre-designated, and that can cutting a lot of red tape there. Same thing if you can put the standards into the build to make them more energy efficient and all that type of stuff, that also will end up cutting some red tape there. So all this stuff is pretty interesting, particularly since they're going to put $25 billion behind it. So it's $25 billion commitment to scale up an entire prefabricated home industry. So if this is done in such a way that, there's a shop, somewhere in BC and a shop in Alberta and a shop, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and all those little regions, that can spread a lot of jobs all around the country. Right. And that's not only the jobs, but, building where these things will be built, either if they have to build a new place or let's say retool someplace in order to be able to get it done, and then making sure that, that the materials are sourced and, all the contracts are written to get the materials and, just all of that. There's so many jobs in that to get that off the ground. And then the actual putting together of the prefabbed home packages, right? There's all those jobs, and then distributing them and then actually putting them up, right? So there's all these industries along the way, these sub-industries along the way, and it creates this larger industry overall. So we're going to create that, and not only for ourselves, but once we get that down so that we can create, export those modular homes to other places all around the world, because we're far from the only nation on earth that has a housing issue. And one of the other issues, unlike us, and many other nations unlike us, also have a space issue. For example, if you need a lot of prefab modular homes, let's say, for example, in Japan, there's limited space, right? So smaller homes and that type of thing might be a better idea, or even multiple residences. If they can have a prefabricated multiple unit residences, that would be very good. So and of course, with all of them being put together and put in a catalog, and these are all pre-approved designs, again, like I mentioned, all of that ends up cutting red tape as well. So when we talk about on the show, we talk about cutting red tape. We always make the proviso to make sure that when you're saying cutting red tape, you're not talking about cutting citizen protections at the same time, right? So not all red tape is bad. Then, of course, he continues in his announcement to say that with regards to the Housing Accelerator Fund that Pierre Poilièvre wants to cancel, that not only will he maintain it, but he will make sure that there's more money in it, and that, so that it can do even more. Now, this is a very, very, very ambitious plan. Like I mentioned, Mike Moffat, who once came in to help give the government a little bit of advice on housing before they came up with the Housing Accelerator Fund and other type of stuff, says that in order to meet our needs over a certain period of time, we would have to build about 350,000 homes a year, I think, maybe to get back to meeting need in 10 years or something like that. I think that's the timeline, but don't quote me on that one. So this is way more ambitious. He's looking at 500,000 new homes per year. So he really, it seems that if we can get that done, and this Building Canada Homes Fund is there to build specifically affordable housing, right? Since the rest of the market is not really encouraged to do that. Hopefully these measures will encourage them to do that more. But if you're not going to do it, we are, is basically what he's saying here when it comes to affordable housing. And $25 billion behind it is a substantive amount of money. So doing pretty much like we did with the shipyard things, building the industry here in order to be able to do it, so that we're not only just building the ships, but we have the capacity to take on orders from other places and for other purposes as well. He goes into his closing about this and talks a little bit about Pierre Poilièvre again, some things that he said before, the type of career politician who worships the free market but has never had to make a payroll. He will eliminate housing policy that works for the free market. That is not leadership, that is ideology. It's the type of ideology that does not understand at all how the market actually works. And then again, that's basically the main part of that announcement for him. He is asked at one point in the question and answer, there wasn't really much, but one point he's asked in French whether or not the creation of a new agency means that he's lost faith in the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. He says, not at all. You have to understand that certain agencies work best, and if they have a very narrow mandate. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Company insures. They don't build. They're not set up for that. And that's why we need another one that does specifically that, to not distract the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation from what it does, and does very, very, very well. So, but it's not a lack of confidence. It's, just this is such a specific goal that he wants a specific organization dedicated to that and only that, in order to ensure that it gets done. So that is this plan. Now, as we've shown you in other clips since, Pierre Poilièvre has mocked that plan, right? Creating another government bureaucracy. Ha, ha, ha. They'll never get anything done, and everything's going to be so expensive, and you'll see it'll just fail, essentially. Now, it's not the first time that Pierre has mocked things. Remember when we were talking about appointing an ambassador to the, sort of polar region. Pierre was, well, what are we going to do? Tax Santa Claus or something like that, right? And it's like, no, there actually is, right, a group of, I think, 7 nations or so that are all talking right now about what's happening with the Arctic, right? I think Denmark, China, Russia, Sweden, Norway, us, Finland, I'm guessing, probably be the 7th, the United States, and there because of Alaska. There are things that we need to discuss, right? There are diplomatic relations going there. A person that is assigned to just that, given the importance that the Arctic region is going to take, along with, unfortunately, climate change and opening of the Northwest Passage and all of that type of stuff. Yeah, why not have somebody dedicated for that? So he mocked that. He's mocking the modular housing plan. So that was number one. Then yesterday, I think it was, or a couple of days ago. Yeah, it wasn't yesterday. What am I talking about? 2 days ago. Liberal leader Mark Carney unveiled a plan for the skilled trades workforce that goes along with it. And it was, again, a very interesting plan. Now, we mentioned that what Pierre has is very, very good policy. This goes along with it very well. And as we mentioned earlier, there hasn't been that much yet in the campaign for young Canadians. So when you're looking at housing policy, the cut on the GST is not really for young Canadians. I mean, those who are managing to save and whatnot, yeah, maybe, but it's not really there. But this type of thing, right? Modular housing that can be built by Crown Corporation for all intents and purposes, whose mandate it is to build affordable housing, that can definitely help young people. Now, what else can help young people? Well, yes, there are young people that enter the trades, and definitely writing off those costs to travel, to do work, and to be housed, and to basic transportation, accommodation, and food during that time is extremely beneficial, especially if you're lifting the cap. But you got to enter the trades as well, right? One of the problems with these housing announcement when I was there was like, yeah, but who's going to build all this housing, right? We're already short on trades already and tradespeople to build the housing that the private sector is trying to build. If we're adding a public builder along with that, we do need the bodies. So the Liberals announced, and this is from their own announcement here, in the face of President Trump's tariffs, we need to build Canada strong. That starts by supporting our workers. The work of bricklayers, crane operators, welders, and others are essential in building the future of Canada, and Mark Carney government will invest in their futures. Today, which is 2 days ago, Mark Carney announced a plan to cover apprenticeship training costs of up to $8,000 and to create more training opportunities in the skilled trades, so more Canadian workers can join these professions and secure higher paying careers. Quote, the next decades are going to be a great time to be in the skilled trades, said Mark Carney, Liberal. Well, I'm not going to read that part. We know he's the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. Quote, President Trump's tariffs are already impacting Canadian industry, but by investing in workers, we will build a much stronger economy. My new government will make apprenticeship training more affordable so we can build more in this country and connect workers to higher paying jobs. And then, so specifically the first amount, an apprenticeship grant of up to $8,000 for registered apprentices. This will remove a key financial barrier to skills training. And this will also attract people to the trades, right? If you can get $8,000 off your apprenticeship training, that makes that field way more accessible to way more people. Right? Reducing the cost of post-secondary education, and trade apprenticeships are post-secondary education. It's not just colleges and universities. This is a big deal. And this is a deal specifically. It's for everybody if you're changing careers, right? My beaver sweetie a couple of years ago decided, because he was interested in it, to take a carpentry course. He's a scientist. Right? But take a carpentry course. If anytime he wants to leave the sciences for a little bit, because he actually has a skill. If he wants to do something else, right? And pretty much an instant job. If you can measure and cut well, there's a job for you. That's just the start. Because they need people. He was told that in his course. He says, there's a job for you right now if you want one. But in addition to that, they will increase access to union-led training initiatives by doubling the funding of the Union Training and Innovation Program from $25 million to $50 million annually. Establish a new $20 million capital funding stream for colleges to support new training spaces for apprenticeships. That's going to come in handy, especially since a lot of colleges are lacking some funds. Uphold the apprenticeship service program to support employers in hiring new apprentices in Red Seal trades with up to $10,000 for eligible employers for each new apprentice hired. So $8,000 to students to help them afford apprenticeships, and $10,000 to employers to help them create more of them. He's working on both sides of the equation here. Increase labor mobility for skilled tradespeople between provinces and territories through vital work of breaking down internal trade barriers, and expand the labor mobility tax deduction. So here, taking a bit from Pierre. In this case, he is stealing from Pierre. Expand the labor mobility tax deduction to ensure workers who travel more than 120 kilometers from their home to a job site can deduct more of their expenses, and commit to significantly increasing the per year tax deduction limit. So unlike Pierre, he's not removing the cap totally, but I guess it's going to be significantly increased. And he too has reduced the distance to 120 kilometers from their home job site to match Pierre. So in other words, Carney is able to recognize when there's a good idea and then make it better. because that's all Pierre was willing to offer. And Mr. Carney is offering not only that, but $8,000 to people who want to get into the trades, and then $10,000 for employers to create more opportunities for them, so that we have the tradespeople who are trained by the time that all the design work is all done, and we're ready to start building those prefabricated homes, assembling in factory, and then actually setting them up on land for people to actually buy and live in. He's thinking of all of the steps that are required and putting things in place for each of the steps to happen. And then when you think about this 1 and 2, that housing policy now that Pierre mocked now looks really smart, because this is basically a 1-2 punch. I'm going to build a new industry. Boom. That was 9 days ago. Was it 9 days ago for Mark Carney? Better double check that one. Double check my facts on that one. So make sure. But it was a few days ago. That's for sure. Let's see. Housing plan, that was 7 days ago. So 7 days ago, unveils a housing plan, lets Pierre mock it for a few days, and then 5 days later, basically says, oh, and by the way, I'm going to make sure that we have the people in order to make sure this plan worked. Wow. I'm looking at the competing plans on housing. I'm looking at the competing plans on trades. One of the two candidates has a plan that is way more substantive on both fronts. And Pierre's announcement on trades and his announcement on housing, there's no connection between them. Right? Reducing the amount of money that it's going to cost someone in the trades to travel to work doesn't have any relationship with reducing the GST on the price of a house. But giving people $8,000 off their apprenticeship training and $10,000 to employers to create more apprenticeship spaces has a direct connection to the plan to build 500,000 new homes per year. They're directly linked. One person actually has a plan. And now we're starting to see some of the pieces come together and how they fit together. Again, objectively, one offer is better, more laid out, more strategic, more planned, more thought out. It's not that there aren't good things in Pierre's plan. There are. But there's no overall vision. It's a tax cut for you here and a subsidy for you here and a this for that. But how do they all come together other than just reducing the amount of revenue that the Treasury takes in? How does this all go together? We're starting to see here how things go together. What it is we are going to do with our additional steel, what it is we are going to do with our additional lumber of the United States is not taking it anymore, for it's just too expensive. What it is that we are going to do with the additional workers. What are the additional jobs? What are the additional economic drivers that we are going to have for our country? So far, we've seen the creation, he's talking about the creation of a new industry here. And if he goes ahead with the high-speed rail, we have two major national infrastructure programs. Not programs, projects, I should say. Plan is better than no plan. And it's obvious to me, at least, which of the two has thought a little bit more about their plan, how their plan works in real life than the other. Hopefully, kits and cubs, with what we have done today, it is apparent to you as well, and will help you cast a more fully informed vote, because that is our objective here at the Beaver Lodge, to help with that specific purpose. I'm looking here at the chat here. I see Kit Jillian saying, Carney speaks sense. It's refreshing. Kit Saucy, that's another advantage for Carney. He is able to show how he would be PM during his campaign, and people are liking what they see. Poilièvre keeps showing the cracks in his facade at pressers. Interesting. Good, interesting comments here from the kits. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm just taking a look to see if there's anything here. Yes. Kit Tavi G. Smith is in a tizzy because Carney made a joke about her in Fox News. Smith, the queen of mean talk, is offended. Yes. Oh, darn, I did it again. See, as soon as I saw the thing happen yesterday, I had that laugh. I was like, oh, Douglas. Yee, tamp down that evil. Tamp down that evil. there are enough evil queens in the world. But it's so good to see her get it. Basically, again, you know what? I'm not going to ruin it for you by trying to tell you what it is, because it is so good. Tomorrow I will have the clip and I will show it to you, because you have to get a feeling for the vibe in the room to understand just how. Quick, I need a distraction. Clutch pearls. In case of emergency, clutch pearls. The whole melodrama from Danielle that followed was, and then of course some people tried to create some other melodrama, saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's mocking Doug Ford." And it's like the last person that he's mocking is Doug Ford, and that whole intervention. So yes, we'll definitely have that tomorrow, because that is, like I said earlier, just chef kiss, and it's so nice to watch them fall apart. Because here's the thing, right? The Conservative Party of Canada, let me repeat that, the Conservative Party of Canada, because they even had that pundit Kate Harrison pop in on that, and the Canadian Conservative Movement right now, led by Danielle Smith in this particular instance, want you to believe that they suddenly have a problem with openly mock a leader of a political jurisdiction here in Canada, openly mocking another leader of a political jurisdiction here in Canada. And I'm thinking, I remember Aaron O'Toole's porta potty thing. Right? Right? Because that wasn't openly mocking another leader, right? I remember communications advisor Sarah Fisher taking the box of water and pouring it over her head to mock the prime minister as well, right? And we've just witnessed a decade of constant mocking. Wasn't it Corey tonight that said, if Justin Trudeau, because he wasn't prime minister yet, remembers to wear his pants for the debate, he will have had a good day or something. Right? But now we're against openly mocking the leader of another jurisdiction in Canada. Like I said, in case of emergency, clutch pearls. It's too much. These people. It's just, again, right? Every accusation is a confession. They called us snowflakes. He made a joke about maybe it not being a good idea to send Danielle Smith to Fox News to speak on behalf of Canada. I'm melting. I'm melting. I'm melting. It's like somebody threw a bucket of water on her. Ah, geez. Okay. I know. I'm being catty. I am being totally and completely 100% petty. I know, but I can't help it, man. Listen, it has taken me all of my restraint to not break out certain words when I speak of her. Because, listen, I'm a gentleman. I'll tell you that. And but I'm not superhuman. I'm not a saint. I may not say it, but I'm thinking it. I'm thinking it hard. So there are certain words that it has taken a very, very, very hard effort for me not to say when I refer to this particular person. Fortunately, Trader is not one. So yes, this will be a little treat because you have been most excellent and wonderful, kids and cubs. I'm sure both of you have probably already seen it, but hey, when it's that good, you can see it twice. All right, kids and cubs. Let's see if I have a couple of little tidbits for you before we go. Just taking a little look here. All right. Whoops. Sorry, that's my bad here. I don't see the benefits of having a producer. All right, let's see. A little bit of Canadians who make us proud since we're at it. Of course, we mentioned Team Jacobs taking the bronze at the World Championships of Curling yesterday. But in snowboard cross, we have Elliot Grondet, who sealed his second career Crystal Globe with a strong performance at the season's final World Cup stop at Mont-Saint-Anne, Quebec. So another weekend gone and another either world champion or Crystal Globe winner, season champion. So yeah, he had a great thing there. On the women's side, Tress Critchlow was the top Canadian, winning the small final to finish fifth at that event. In rugby sevens, the Canadian women's rugby team has won back-to-back bronzes. I think last week in Singapore was their first one. Sorry, not in Singapore. Darn. Sorry. My bad. So this time was in Singapore. Sorry. And they had a great tournament here with a dominant 21-5 victory over France in the bronze medal match. And in the semifinals, the Canadian team, or the quarterfinals was the Canadian team was the one that had the toughest match up and was able to get through. They had a 14-5 win over Great Britain to start. They followed up with a 31-21 victory over the United States. The semifinals, though, however, they faced Team Australia, one of the two toughest teams, falling 45-7, but rebounded to claim bronze with the victory against France. And they will be going back to they'll be going to Los Angeles May 3rd, 4th for the next sevens competition, which will be the Sevens World Championship. Canada sits in fourth place for the season in the standings, but finishing the last two in third place. It looks pretty good for the Team Canada women to pick up a bronze, at least at the World Championships. We will keep our fingers crossed. It seems that they are peaking at just the right time. At the inaugural Grand Slam track event in Kingston, Jamaica, Olympic silver medalist Marco Arap took command of the men's 800-meter race and crossed the finish line in 1:45:13 to finish first. He also had a sixth-place performance in the 1,500 meters. He placed second overall in the short distance slam behind Kenya's Emmanuel Wanyonyi, the man who won the 800 meters at Paris 2024. At the Florida Relays, I think, as we mentioned, Canada's gold medal winning quartet won the 4x100 relay. So that's Aaron Brown, Jerome Blake, Brendan Rodney, Andre DeGrasse, the same combination that won gold in at the Olympics. So it was a pretty competitive race. They were 7/100ths faster than the U.S. team that was led by world champion medalists Christian Coleman and Ariane Knighton. And the day before, Andre DeGrasse won the 200 meters in 20.32 seconds. In trampoline gymnastics, we don't get to talk about that a lot, but Olympic bronze medalist Sofiane Méthode secured the bronze medal in the women's individual final. And that's at the World Cup in Riccione, Italy there. So good result for her as well. And there's more results, positive results, not medal winning, but positive results, top 10s and stuff like that for in mountain biking from Jennifer Jackson. She picked up a 6th. There have been some Canadians in the top 10 at the first World Cup of diving in the season. So Kate Miller and Mia Vallée both did well there. Benjamin Tessier and Matt Cullen as well did very well at that event. And the next event for those who like diving, if you happen to be in Windsor, April 10th to 13th, the World Cup of diving circuit will actually have their Canadian event in Windsor, Ontario. So this coming weekend, if you're interested in that, to go on and encourage our Canadian athletes, please do that. And then in sailing, another sport that we don't get to talk about a lot, but Antonio and Georgia Lewin La France finished 9th overall in the 49er FX at the Trofeo Princesa Sofia in Mallorca, Spain, which is a very, very prestigious regatta on the World Cup Series. So top 10 finish for them is fantastic. There we go. That's what we have for the Canadians who have done us proud over the last week in Olympic level sports. Okay, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Now, remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Okay, and now I need to do all the audio stuff. If you would like, not audio stuff, sorry, the things that need to appear on the screen. So if you would like to not miss an episode of our audio podcast, which fortunately we are now all caught up on our election issues, hopefully we will not have any other technical difficulties and we will be able to get the shows out on the day of or after. So our audio listeners will be at the same time as everybody else in the Dan family is listening to us on YouTube. But if you would like to make sure that you do not miss any one of those episodes, then here, that QR code that has just appeared is something that you need to scan, because that will bring you to our pod page, podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go to our pod page and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. You don't have to go hunting for it. All you have to do is click subscribe, and we just deliver. Hey, we like to help. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, then maybe you would like to take a surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. We are growing. We hit 16,500, if I'm not mistaken, over the last little bit. So thank you to all the people who are joining, who are seeing our advertising, and who are definitely deciding to subscribe. We very much appreciate it. Hopefully you will enjoy our offerings and stay a while. But if you would like to go there, True North Eager Beaver Media on our YouTube page, where Kits, Cassie, and Elaine will definitely encourage you to smash with our buttons. And for the damn fam who are watching, remember, if you smash now, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave. So get freaky. Like, share, subscribe. They're all waiting for you. Very, very enticing little buttons. Click them. That gets us some happy, and it helps us with the algorithm. So thanks, eh? That's really helpful. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, Kits and Cubs, we do incur some costs in order to bring this show to you. And hopefully, if you find it informative and you would like to support and encourage us to do more, hey, we shake it for tips. So please scan that little QR code there. Or if you are listening, go to our coffee page. That's coffee, K-ho. That's not K-ho, K-O -fi.com/eagerbeaver. And if you go there, you will find the emergency hydration fund here at the Beaver Lodge, where we work daily to fight the scourge of dry beaver. Yum, yum, yum. So if you would like to help keep your favorite beaver moist so that we don't have another dry beaver incident like we had earlier in the show, clutch pearls. That's a legitimate reason to clutch pearls. Then your contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund would be greatly appreciated. Say, add a beaver and maybe offer me a little bit of hot chocolate so I can maintain my levels, or add a grizzly so that Mr. Grizzly can have more coffee that's as dark as his soul. No, he doesn't have a dark soul. He's a really, really good guy. But if you would like to help, we would be very, very grateful. Thank you for your generosity and your continued expressions of enthusiastic encouragement and support. All right, because democracy is something that you do, Kits and Cubs. Remember, Quebec Liberal leadership race in Manitoba, the PC race, again, April 22nd for your mail-in ballots. Federal election coming up. Remember, they are still looking for some poll workers for advance polls and all that kind of stuff. So please contact Elections Canada to see if there's any positions for you. If you have a candidate that you like, hey, how about some door knocking or some phone banking, that type of stuff. Really helps, right? Again, and most importantly, plan your vote if you can. If you have a chance to go early, go. You can vote you can vote early by going to an Elections Canada office up until, I believe, April 22nd. Early voting is April 18th to the 21st. And there are other ways you can get your mail-in ballot. And if you are a student, you can vote on campus. There will be specific days coming up for you to do that. I think 3 or 4 days, maybe 2. Don't quote me on that, but there will be some days coming up for you to do that. And remember, you can vote either in your home writing. You have to have your ID that shows that where you live and that type of stuff, an ID showing your name, and you can vote there, or you can vote in the electoral district where your campus is located and where it is you are studying. All right. Words of wisdom. Well, you know what? Mr. Grizzly gave them to you before he left. So I will just leave you with it could be a tough world out there, Kits and Cubs. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. All right. Let's see, once again, if I am able to stick that landing and make it twice in a row. Because yesterday, I think I did pretty well. At least based on the comments that I saw in the chat. So let's give it a whirl. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Hey there, kids and cabs. A little bit of an Easter egg for you here. And let's just see what we've got here. There, by the way, I think I'll try to bring it to you. One thing I noticed, because we're talking a little bit about young Canadians, there is a group of young Canadians that got together and went to the press room on the Hill that it's open to community groups, and had some things to say about what they would like to see for them. So hopefully I will have an opportunity to bring that to you too. If I don't, please remind me in the chat to do that. Some interesting things going on here. It seems that Pierre Poilièvre decided to hit the stage the other day with former Prime Minister Stephen Harper at a standing room only event just outside Edmonton. That's normally a bad sign. Usually, if you're bringing in a former leader, sometimes it could be to kick off the campaign, but usually you're bringing them as a closer. The midway point of this campaign is Thursday. So bringing in Harper this early seems a little desperate, but things are not going all that well. Interesting. It seems that leader Pierre Poilièvre is going to have a mid-morning policy reveal at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time. So I'm not sure if that's about to happen soon. I think after that he'll drop off the radar for a day of closed to media campaigning before circling back to Sault Ste. Marie, where he's set to headline another rally this evening at 6:30. Back on the West Coast, Liberal leader Mark Carney who held his own rally in Victoria last night, and that's the one that got Danielle a little upset. Said that apparently there was an estimated more than 2,000 people in both the main hall and overflow room. Not sure why it is that the Liberals feel that they need to start talking about crowd size, but that's an interesting move. He starts his day in Delta, BC, where he's expected to provide more details on his housing plan, as per his comments to the crowd last night. And that will be about 9:30 Pacific time. Later this morning, he'll also drop by a local business in Westminster, British Columbia, around 11 a.m. before jetting to Calgary to join local Liberal candidates for an evening event. As the Canadian Press notes, will be his first stop in Alberta since the election got underway last month. In fact, him being in BC was the first time that he's been west of, I think, maybe Manitoba since the campaign started. But of course, he's had to interrupt his campaign twice so far to come back to Ottawa for certain things. So that makes it a little more tricky. For his part, New Democrat leader Jagmeet Singh is booked for a morning media availability and announcement alongside New Democrat hopefuls in Vancouver. So all the main candidates are out west for a little bit today, except for Pierre, who will be coming back later in the evening. But yes, he will be joining striking Life Lab workers on the picket lines as they fight for better wages, benefits, and working conditions at 12:15. And then he'll return to his home riding of Burnaby, BC, for a closed-door chat with the Union of BC Indian Chiefs Grand Chief Stuart Phillip at around 5. And then Green Party co-leader Elizabeth May will clock in another day on the hustings in Ontario. They're in Guelph right now because that's a seat that they have a decent chance, and they have a lot of strength in that area. I believe they hold the seat in Guelph provincially, if I'm not mistaken. So looking there to see if they can make a gain over there. Later this afternoon, she'll head back to Toronto to the arrivals area at Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport to address concerns around expanding the runways and the possibility of allowing jets to fly to downtown Toronto. And then on the radar, there will be candidates from the Greens, Mike Morris from the Greens, Thornhill, Ontario Liberal hopeful Leanne Kotler, and Scarborough area New Democrat George Wedge. They will promote their parties' respective positions on disability issues during an evening debate at the Toronto office of the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And that will be at around 7 p.m. And that event is hosted by a coalition of advocacy groups, including, of course, the CNIB, the Easter Seals, March of Dimes, the AODA Alliance, which I do not know what it is. Actually, I'm going to have to look that up. Autism Ontario, RENA, Community Living Toronto, Ontario Autism Coalition, and other organizations. The Conservative Party and the Bloc Québécois were invited as well, but it seems that they have declined the invitation. There you go, kids and cubs, a little bit what's going on the campaign today so that you know what to follow. All right, that'll be it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a beaverific day, everyone. Bye-bye.